Today, we're going to dive into a story about what it really takes to succeed. And I think the answer is going to surprise you because it's not about being the smartest person in the room or the richest or the most talented. It's about something way, way more fundamental. It all starts with this, just a gut-wrenching question from a young boy named Arav. He felt like he was completely doomed to lose, and you can just feel the weight in those words. It's a feeling I think, honestly, a lot of us have felt at some point. So let's get to know Arav. His story isn't one of those where he's a secret genius or a prodigy just waiting to be discovered. No, it's pretty much the exact opposite. He was just a kid whose entire identity, in his own head and to everyone else, was built on failing. Over and over again. And look, his struggle wasn't just something in his own mind. He wasn't the top student. He wasn't the strongest kid. But the real poison came from the outside. You had teachers telling him to maybe try something a little easier. Classmates openly laughing when he tried. This negativity, it just became his world. But right when Arav was at his absolute lowest point, his father stepped in. And he didn't give him a big lecture or a pep talk. Instead, he taught him a simple but really powerful lesson. This one moment, the cracked rock listen, was about to change Arav's life forever. The setting couldn't be simpler. No big dramatic gesture, just a quiet field. And his father points to this tiny little plant, somehow pushing its way up right between two huge rocks. I mean, it looks completely impossible, but there it is, growing against the odds. And this is where it all clicks. The lesson is laid out right here. On one side, you've got Arav, complaining, feeling sorry for himself, wanting to just give up. And on the other side, the plant. It doesn't complain. It can't quit. It doesn't even have a choice. Its only job is to grow. Arav starts to see that the plant's incredible strength comes from the fact that it has no other option. It has to push forward. And then his father says this. This is the sentence that just flips a switch in Arav's head. He tells him, look, talent is not the price of admission. The real starting line, the one thing you absolutely must have, is just a stubborn refusal to quit. And that becomes Arav's new North Star. So with this new way of thinking, Arav starts his journey. But let's be really clear here. This was not some overnight magical transformation. The road ahead of him was long, it was lonely, and frankly, it was incredibly painful. There was no magic bullet, just a slow, hard grind. I mean, just look at this breakdown of his year. This is the reality. He's dragging himself out of bed at 4 a.m. to study, but he's still failing the practice tests. He's watching his friends drop out one by one. There were days he cried. There were days he wanted nothing more than to quit. But the only thing that mattered, the only thing that made a difference, was that last step. He continued anyway. And this was the little voice inside his head that kept him going. It's such a simple but powerful way to reframe everything. He finally understood that quitting was the only way to guarantee a loss. As long as he was still in the game, still trying, that chance, no matter how small, was still alive. And when the change finally did come, it wasn't some big lightning bolt. It was slow. It was steady. You probably wouldn't have even noticed it day to day. His grades just started to creep up, point by point. And his confidence started to grow, not with some loud swagger, but with this quiet, deep strength that only comes from getting through the hard days. So all of this, the 4 a.m. mornings, the failed tests, the tears, it all leads to this moment, the final challenge, the most important exam of his life. Everything he's worked for, everything he's endured, is about to be put on the line. The pressure is just immense. And of course, standing right outside that exam room, that old familiar voice of fear pops back into his head. It's that whisper we've all heard, right? What if you go through all this and you fail again? It's the voice of every past failure trying to drag him back down. But this time, a new voice answers back, a stronger voice, one that was forged in all those tough moments. And it just says, so what? He realizes in that instant that failure isn't the end of the world. He's failed hundreds of times before. And guess what? He's still here. He survived every single one. And right then, failure lost all its power over him. So he walks in and he takes the test. Months go by and the results are finally out. But his victory you're about to see is about so much more than a score on a piece of paper. It's about him completely redefining what success even means. And there it is. He didn't just pass, he passed with distinction. This is the result he poured an entire year of his life into. A clear, undeniable win against the odds, against all the people who doubted him, and most importantly, against the person he used to be. But this is the real kicker. His smile, that feeling of joy, it wasn't about sticking it to his old teachers or classmates. It wasn't about revenge. That smile was for him. He made a promise to himself a year ago that he would not quit, and he kept it. He proved his own new belief system right. And this brings us right back to where we started, in that field with his dad. The metaphor is now complete. That tiny, struggling plant is now a powerful tree. And think about it, it didn't just find a way to grow around the rocks. It became so strong that it actually broke them apart. His persistence didn't just get him past the obstacles, it shattered them. So what do we take away from Arav's story? Well, a few big things. First, success isn't just for the super talented or the extraordinary. It's for the people with extraordinary persistence. Second, talent might get you in the door, but it's consistency that lets you stay there. And maybe the most important one of all, if your life feels really hard right now, you're not falling behind. You're being prepared. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. Arav's rocks were his exams and other people's doubt. We all have rocks in our way, challenges that seem totally immovable. So the question this story leaves for you is this: what rock are you preparing to break?